Hey, Marcus Washington, MTC Media takeaways from last night's Indiana 116-107 win in Game 3 of the NBA Finals. And one of the things that jumped out to me that really just chaps my rear end as a coach is not only the turnover numbers. Sometimes we just get so obsessed with the numbers. It's the type of turnovers. And even when you break down the type of turnovers from whether they're live ball or dead ball, even within that category is a subcategory. And I haven't gone back over the game yet. I will go back and rewatch the game again. The 17 turnovers for OKC is already maddening. The 17 turnovers that included a cluster of turnovers trying to flip the ball across multiple passing lanes to the weak side, that Indiana went under every single time and was able to get run out steals, get deflections, and everything else. That's a pass you don't even want thrown in high school. Nevertheless, on the NBA, unless there are things like dribble penetration, unless a team is in rotation, those are the exceptions. But when you have five guys there and you're not drawing two, or you're drawing two and you've picked up your dribble and you're just flipping it across multiple passing lanes, especially if you're kissing the 3-point line or, heaven forbid, inside the 3-point line, that's a recipe for disaster. And OKC seemed to do it all night. Jalen Williams, for as much as he scored last night, I know he had 26 points, 6 rebounds, but 4 turnovers. You can't have him have 4 and then have Gilgeous-Alexander, who also was guilty of this, have 6. 10 of the 17 turnovers came from arguably your two most important players on offense. Certainly your two most dangerous shot creators on offense. And it was the type of turnovers that is maddening. Turnovers going to happen in games, mistakes going to happen in games. But again, every turnover isn't created equal. The second thing that jumped out, when we go down to, let's see, we're going to go and we're going to scroll to Tyrese Halliburton. So much has been made about he got off early in the first half, yada, 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 yada. And the one thing I do like about Rick Carlisle, one of the things that when I coach, I like to, I guess, describe it as a 5-man offense. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily democratic in shot attempts or the type of shot attempts, but it's a 5-man offense, which is really action-driven and not set-driven. And Indiana does the same thing. Rick Carlisle has an action-driven 5-out, which is why he kind of scoffs when you ask him about shot attempts with Tyrese Halliburton. Outside of ATOs, blobs, and slobs, Indiana doesn't run necessarily a boatload of sets. So because of that, what you're looking to do is schematically take advantage of opportunities. So, not necessarily shot attempts. So when you looked at Halliburton last night, I think the reason why things were up was because he took advantage of opportunities. And if you go and you break down what he shot when people guarded him, he was 3 for 3 whenever Holmgren switched out on him, with 1 for 1 from the 3-point line. He was 2 for 2 when Hartenstein switched out on him, 1 for 1 from the 3-point line. So what it mostly was again, you're running your actions, and it was taking advantage of any sort of mismatch, any sort of switches. And against two of the bigs, Hartenstein certainly being probably the one that's at the most disadvantage, Halliburton went 5 for 5, 2 for 2 from the 3-point line for 12 points. That's huge. So again, it wasn't that Rick Carlisle had to go and do something amazing in between there. It's like, look, we're going to get into these opportunities. Now, let's take advantage of these opportunities when they show. And you have to be, somewhat um, efficient with it. And we know that Halliburton is an efficient player. So when people kept screaming, "Oh, you gotta get Halliburton more shots. You gotta shoot more. You gotta shoot more," he doesn't necessarily have to shoot more as much as he has to decisively take advantage when there's a mismatch. That will probably naturally raise his shot attempts as opposed to manufacturing them. Oh, let's go two-man game. Let's go screen and roll. Let's try to find a way to get him ISO, which seems to always be the fans' solution to everything, which is why, there's a difference between having educated eyes and uneducated eyes. They don't need to do that. He just needs to understand and recognize a lot, probably from film and how they're playing them, what where that advantages are, and be more cognizant even early on, as opposed to, hey, I want to get everyone involved. Let's get everyone involved, and then in the fourth quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, I'll start applying myself more. It was, hey, because of this team and how they play defense and so on and so forth, we probably need to go ahead and still get people involved, but let's try to take advantage of those mismatch earlier, which I thought that Halliburton did a good job. If you take a look in the first quarter, his shot attempts, he still only had 3 shot attempts. He was efficient with it, but again, 2 of those came inside the 3-point line, more to middle to wing on the right side of the floor. In the second quarter, again, getting inside the 3-point line. He was 1 for 2 from the 3-point line, but he got inside. 3 of his 5 attempts was within the top of the key. So, with his float game and those type of deals, he certainly loves to get to that when you run him off the line. The third quarter, 2 of his made baskets come at the front of the rim, and then he did have 3-point attempts, which I believe is the most he had in any single quarter. And in the fourth quarter, he had a couple of 3-point attempts, and he missed a couple that was inside of there. I remember the one on the baseline, he certainly thought he was fouled. But that is more of Halliburton's game. We got to get out of this 1990s thought of how a player can take over a game. And that's how Halliburton took over the game. It was more of taking advantage of my situations, as opposed to, hey guys, I got to be the guy. I got to be the man. It wasn't that. So he ends up with 22 points and 11 assists. 22 points, 11 assists, and 9 rebounds. So, that's a great adjustment. And last but not least, again, I know OKC only took 22 threes. So probably roughly a little bit over 25% of their total shot attempts were threes, which is low, probably lower than what most people expect for the NBA. But it was the misses. How many times was OKC spread and then they miss a 3 and it's a long rebound, and Indiana uses the long rebound as the first pass of their transition and push out? Those are things against Indiana that they take full-fledged advantage of. So it's not always the number of threes, it's the type of threes and where the threes coming from and where your floor balance is in the 3. People get so obsessed over the number of threes taken. And neither one of these 2 teams, I'm going to look back to last night. I haven't looked at the whole series yet. I'm planning on doing that. Out of the 85 field goal attempts that Indiana had, only 27 of them were 3-point attempts. And out of the 79 OKC field goal attempts, only 22 were threes. So this flies in the face of the narrative. All these people do is shoot threes. That flies in the face of that. So those are my takeaways from game 3 of the NBA Finals. This is Mark Schwartz, MTC Media.